welcome to the podcast. I'm Jason.
And I'm Jimmy.
So to start out like we do everyone, tell me how your week was.
Um, I I don't know. I feel like my whole week was taken up by the election. Not to get all political, but it feels like all background noise for me was election newscasts. Not that I'm very political person.
Exact same thing here. Like it seems like it didn't matter whether it was work, when I'm in the chat room with people, since we're not in the actual office right now, or if it was at you know online or on a podcast or even a video. Like I even got off of Reddit for a while because I was like, I know everything is going to be politically related. So, and as far as I know, there's no button that says like, oh, just turn off all political posts. If there are, then I really wish I had known it. So yeah, it was something that you just couldn't escape.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen that many maps of the United States for that long of a time. It's just like everywhere, and all I can see is like red and blue now.
Yeah. Well, now this part's past us, so we can at least have a different type of news cycle, which will be nice. Unfortunately, not the most fun week either. I mean, hearing about Alex Trebek dying was kind of sad. You know me. I'm a huge fan of trivia, and I grew up. What is it? After school, Jeopardy would come on, maybe an hour or two after I got home, and watch it when I was a kid, and even watch it as an adult. And that was always like one of my life goals to make it on Jeopardy. And yeah, it's like, man, it just hit hard.
Yeah, I know he was very sick because he had cancer, but I was kind of hoping he was gonna push through it for one more season. He didn't look too bad, but I guess I've seen him only pre-corona time, so I don't know what happened post, but it is very sad. It's like losing a real legend.
Yes. And I actually heard, I didn't realize this because they were making new episodes over the past year, even during Corona a little bit, though it slowed down. Like he was, wearing a wig the whole time. I was not the wiser of that. Like he was still doing his whole thing while he was going through chemo treatments.
Oh wow! Now I might go back and try to find some of those episodes. I usually only watch Jeopardy when it's the college kids or the high school kids like episodes because I know most more of the answers to those questions. So I feel like I can do Jeopardy. So I'll have to go check it out.
Yeah, when I looked at it, I was like, oh, I guess they got him. Wig technology must have gotten better or something because I was none the wiser when I would watch it, and yeah, that was just a shocker to hear.
It does make me excited that you say wig technology is getting better. For if I ever do go bald in the future, it's gonna be like the height of wig technology. So I'm not afraid anymore.
Yeah, I guess that's one. Well, probably the only positive that came out of it. But hey, he what 36 years on TV. He was 80, lived a full life, so at least he didn't go young. And I guess we all have to go sometime, but it doesn't make it any less sad when it happens.
Yeah, but he did leave like a mark on this world. Whenever you think of game show host, you're definitely gonna think of Alex Trebek.
Absolutely, like he is like to me. That's he is Jeopardy. He is like trivia. He is knowledge. He's a scholar and a gentleman, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of game show hosts, I can really when I think of them, I think of like Alex Trebek, Pat Sajak, and then because I'm a kid of the '90s, I think of Mark Summers from Double Dare. But those are kind of just the main game show hosts that pop up in my mind whenever I think about that.
Yes, exactly. The perfect way to put it. I mean, Mark Summers, Pat Sajak, uh, Alex Trebek, and then also and another passing we had this year, who I personally also associate with game shows because I know it's had many hosts since then. But when the OG came out of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, he had Regis Philbin, and I watched that one pretty religiously too when I was growing up. And yeah, he passed away earlier this year too.
Oh yeah. Oh, this year's really a lot of man. Yeah, we lost so Sean Connery as well this year. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's been a very, very, very weird year, all in all. That's just putting it super lightly. I mean, I don't know, it's just been so strange. I mean, with everything, with the virus, with just very different. I mean, woe is me. I don't get to take a vacation, but it's just like everything that you used to do normally in life just seems to have either halted, and some people are out of jobs, and it's just all of that. It's just been a really weird year. I mean, at least hopefully we all found something positive out of the year. Like I just me getting my new dog was definitely a positive. So
Yeah, and the year's almost wrapped up, so it's everything's going by. It seemed to be going by really slowly at the beginning, and now I feel like the year's sped up.
exactly. I was like, I forgot. I saw a Reddit post on it. It was kind of funny. It was like, what if we have it's a Groundhog Year situation where when you fall asleep on December 31st, 2020, you wake up and it's January 1st, 2020, and you have to like redo the whole year again.
I wouldn't mind another shot at this year. I feel like I really didn't use my downtime as efficiently as I would have. So maybe another shot. And like, I would have the knowledge still of what's going on. I don't know if I could like let people know what's going to happen the future without looking crazy.
Exactly. There's no way you could do that. Like you would look crazy. You would have to do something big, like predict the lottery or something. But like twice or three times. Like anybody can do it once, but if you got it like three times in a row, then be like, yeah, you're either part of some massive scam or you really do have the ability to see the future or have future knowledge.
Do they do they stop you? Like, is there a limit on how many lotteries you can win? How many jackpots you can
I
win?
honestly don't know, but I think if you won too many, you would probably raise a lot of suspicions, especially at a close point in time. Because there's actually right where you live, like right outside. I want to say in Williamson County, there is I think he was voted out recently, but he was a sheriff and he won the lottery not once but twice in his lifetime. And he's like, he doesn't have to work another day in his life, but he wanted to be sheriff, or I forget what position he had. But yeah, it was it was interesting.
Oh man, I hope I win the lottery twice in my lifetime.
We don't we all? That would be nice. Though they say most people who win it lose it, so or they wind up losing it. Not everybody. Apparently, there's a few people who don't do anything with the money after they get it. Like they either donate it or maybe they buy a house and then that's it. And then they tend to do fine. But it's the ones who like blow all the money on fancy vacations or whatever who wind up going broke.
I think the key is to like keep your day job and keep doing what you're doing, and then just blow all the winnings. That way, you still maintain your normal life, and then you just got to have a really good few months of extreme
Yeah, that could
spending.
work. Just go create, or you like make that your fun money, so that way you can work all day, or you can work and whatnot, but then that money goes to pay for your house or whatever, and then you just have all this other money to just do whatever you want on a weekend.
Yeah, I definitely want to like Scrooge McDuck something, with all the gold coins, but maybe just like dollar bills. I don't know. I want to jump in a pile of money, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that would be fun. Well, dollar bills would be better. I think the density of the coins would actually like break all your bones if you try to jump into it.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe like a mixture. I don't want it just all to be ones, but like some ones, some 20s, or maybe even go even it's like crazier, and it's only $2 bills. So it's like something
Get
unique.
them all out of circulation.
Yeah, like you're the only one who has the
Exactly. That
two
would be
dollar
perfect.
bills.
That would be funny. Then there's just nobody cares anymore. Like you're the only one who has it, and maybe that raises the value. Like they're still only valued at $2 because even though they're rare, they're still in circulation. So
Yeah, is the government still printing them, or are they out of print?
I don't know. I know they're still in circulation, but I don't know if the government's still printing them.
Maybe next time I come across one, I'll hold on to it.
Yeah, look at the printing date on it. Uh, yeah, it looks like I don't know. It looks like maybe it is. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out one of these days. But I think we should probably stop turning this into a dollar bill podcast, and we can talk about Full Metal Alchemist. Though we could start a dollar bill
Sounds
podcast
good.
one of these days.
I mean, next month we're launching our dollar bills podcast, so be on the lookout for that. But today, Full Metal Alchemist.
Yay! All right, let's jump into it. Episode 22, Backs in the Distance. Again, picking up where everything left off, which is always fun. The fact that we don't have to guess what happened over the past 5 months or anything. There's just picking up right where we are. So, Wrath had attacked Lanfon, sliced her mask off of her face, and injured her arm. We see like a gush of blood come out of her arm, but her arm's still intact. Gluttony goes on to eat her, but he is killed, albeit temporarily, being a homunculus, by Ling. Ling proceeds to pick up Lanfang and fight with Wrath. He is a skilled fighter, and he notices that Wrath has an eye patch, so he just stays in that blind spot, making it easier for him to fight. Gluttony then comes to and knocks Ling and Lanfang into an abandoned building. Wrath joins them and wants to have a conversation, conversation before killing them, about how they were able to detect the presence of Gluttony. Well, Wrath then starts to, well, not Wrath, Ling starts to question Wrath because he notices the epaulets on his uniform. So he's like, "Oh, you're very high ranking. You must be the Führer of this country." And so, he's saying, "How is it that you are the way you are? And where did this come from? Like, why are you behaving this way?" Wrath starts to mock him, saying, "Hey, you could escape here if you would just let Lanfan go. She's nothing but excess baggage." And he's like, "No, as a ruler, you need your people. A ruler without a people is nothing." Well, Lanfan then drops a smoke grenade, not a smoke grenade, a flash bomb. Their hope is to blind Wrath long enough that they can escape, but Wrath uses his ultimate eye to see them and cut off their escape route. Well, now we take a quick jump back to Winry, and she's having a flashback. She's looking back at the day when she last saw her parents before they headed out to the battlefield where they ultimately met their end. She wakes up, she is in a car, and she is visiting Maze Hughes' grave. She is with, the wife and our daughter, and she's kind of having her own flashbacks and seeing her own parallels with how she lost her own parents and when she was a little girl. She starts to wander the street and she overhears a lot of talk about the Ulrich brothers fighting the murderer of the state alchemists. She becomes concerned, so she tries to run to see if she can find them and provide some aid. The brothers are fighting Scar, but Ling hasn't set off the signal yet to let them know, "Hey, we caught the homunculi." So they have to keep fighting him. Edward is getting physically tired, so Al decides, "Let me distract Scar." So he starts to question Scar about why he uses alchemy when he thinks alchemy is an abomination. Scar says, "Well, it's because he's balancing things out. Alchemists are creators, so there must be destroyers." And then Alphonse further challenges him, asking him, "Well, like, why are you using your faith to justify murder? It's clear that all you want is revenge. What was your purpose in killing Shao Tucker and Nina?" Scar pointed out that, "Oh, you saw that monster, or you saw that chimera. How could you be so defensive of your alchemy? Your alchemy is what created that thing." And Edward starts to realize, oh, he has a point. But then Al says, "Well, that didn't give you a right to kill her. She was just a little girl." And Scar said there was no way to reverse it. Like, that was it. That was going to be her life from now on, and she would have become essentially a lab rat. So killing her was just like a mercy kill type of thing for him. The brothers kind of look into their head and they're like, "Oh yeah, he's kind of right. Like we never thought about it. We were mad at Shao Tucker, but we never realized the reality of that this was it for Nina. There was nothing for her to look forward to other than becoming a lab rat." Well, then Edward fights back and says, "Well, what about the Rockbells, the doctors from Mistress? They were just healing people even during the extermination of the Ishvalans, and yet you killed them." Uh, Poor timing because Winry overhears everything, and she comes to the realization that this is the guy who killed her parents. She finds a gun on the ground and she proceeds to point it at Scar. Scar understands like where she's coming from. Okay, yeah, I killed your parents. You have every right to be mad and want revenge on me. Then we start to get a flashback of Scar's. We see Scar during the Ishvalan Civil War. He's trying to get his brother out of the house because the soldiers are coming in on them and they need to escape for their lives. Well, his brother is more interested in his alchemic research and wanting to complete it. Apparently, he is trying to figure out something big, or he's onto some really big information. Some of the others Fallons are interested in the brother's research as well. We never actually get his brother's name, so just the brother. They figure, well, he's learning alchemy. He's getting really good at it. He may be able to even the odds for us against the state alchemists. But Scar isn't hearing any of it because he still hates alchemy at his core. Brother eventually meets up with him and gives Scar his research. Basically, his brother says, "Hey, I'm a frail guy. There's no way I'm going to be able to survive this war. This research has some very important information. You're a monk. You've been trained in fighting. You have a better chance of surviving." All of a sudden, they run into an alchemist, state alchemist, who uses a very destructive attack to level the area that they're living in. Scar's brother attempts to protect him from the attack by jumping in front. We now see that nearly everyone in the vicinity was killed. Scar is badly injured and missing his arm. As a last ditch effort to save his life, Scar's brother used his alchemy to give Scar his arm. Scar wakes up in a field hospital. He sees his brother's research, so he thinks, okay, well, what happened to my brother? What happened to everybody? He hears all the craziness that you would expect to hear in a field hospital. He sees the tattooed arm and he's like, "Oh, my brother, you survived. Great." Well, then he realizes, "Oh, the tattooed arm, it's his arm." So this drives him insane. He just has a mental attack where he just realizes everything is wrong. Something's bad happened to my family. What happened to my brother? Emestrians are the reason this happened. He sees the two Rockbell doctors with their blue eyes and realizes they're Emestrians, and he just grabs some instruments that he finds on the ground and proceeds to kill them. Uh, in a blind rage, I don't think he was actually thinking straight, but nevertheless, he did kill them. We then flash back to the present. Winry is on the ground. She's crying. She's pointing the gun. Scar kind of provokes her to shoot, but if she does shoot and she fails, then she is now his enemy. She's struggling to want to shoot, but she really wants to. Uh, Ed talks her out of it. Ed actually jumps in front of her to protect her from Scar, but also prevent her from shooting. This action remembers or reminds Scar of what happened with him and his brother trying to protect him. While he was distracted, Al uses the opportunity to attack Scar. Scar runs away, and Al pursues him. Winry is crying. Edward takes the gun away from her. She is upset because this is the man who killed her parents and nearly killed the Elric brothers. Why couldn't she bring herself to end his life? The episode ends with Edward pointing out that you know her hands helped heal him, helped give him automill, helped all the people at Rust Valley, helped have a baby delivered. Her hands weren't made for taking life; it was made for giving life. And the episode ends. So, what are your thoughts?
I love the backstory we get of Scar in this episode, and kind of learn where he gets his tattoos from. It was very interesting.
Yeah, that his brother just removed his one of his arms and gave it to him in order to help him from bleeding out.
Yes, and I'm curious to see if we're going to see the brother again, but I really love this episode because we get the when we meet the brother, he says, because he both his arms are tattooed, and he says, "My right arm is for deconstruction, and my left arm is reconstruction." And I don't know if everyone's noticed, but it looks like Scar has the right arm of his brother.
Yeah, because you never see him actually create anything, despite them saying, "Oh, this is alchemy," or "He's using alchemy." He only destroys things. He touches things and they blow up or whatever. Like they don't actually. We never see anything actually created by Scar.
Yeah, I and it's interesting that he takes this philosophy of he is the balance because with creation there's a deconstruction, and he is only deconstruction. I wonder if it's because he has the right arm of his brother. I'm not sure. I might be grasping at straws here, but I found that very interesting. I had to rewind the episode back just to double check, and then I froze on a what's when we saw Scar standing to check what arm he has, and it's just it's interesting.
Yeah, I think so. My thoughts are that Scar is just looking for an excuse, just kind of as the Elric brothers pointed out. So we see him, we see him in the flashback, and it's clear that he's never liked alchemy. He is very pious in his belief, and only God should have the ability to create and destroy things. So he is clearly very against alchemy. And I think also with what's going on in the war, that only made him more hateful of alchemy. But you see when people are suggesting using his brother's alchemy to fight back, he is very disturbed by that idea. So it's clear that his belief in alchemy is pretty steadfast. But then now he is going around and killing people. And I kind of think that he is purely out for revenge, but then he's just using that as his justification. So rather than I'm a killer who's killing people, I'm delivering vengeance on God's behalf. Like that's his kind of his mindset. Is so he's kind of lying to himself, saying I'm the balance. I'm what is needed in order to balance out the evil of the alchemists.
And I like that he understands that he is in a cycle of revenge, that he's only causing more pain. We got that back a couple episodes ago when I guess an Ishvalan elder, was talking to him about how he needs to end this cycle and stop pursuing his revenge on state alchemists. And when Winry has the gun, it's he's flashback to the same thing where he's actually created the cycle by killing her parents, and now she's here with a gun pointed at him. He's really realizing the cycle that he's created.
Yeah, that's very true. He does kind of have that insight when the god is pointed at him that he has created this violent cycle. And we also see kind of that episode earlier where he is in the Ishvalan slum, and the leader there tells him about how he's going down the wrong path. He kind of has a flashback to that conversation, so he's starting to realize that yeah, he isn't the hero that he thinks he is.
Yeah, and we get to see how brutal this war actually was. There's a point where some of the Ishvalans are trying to escape the city, and the state alchemists trap them in with a giant wall, and then they are just all shot. And it's not holding any punches back. You're seeing the brutality of this war.
Exactly. We're seeing what war is and what the problem with war is and how war negatively affects people. Some that's not always covered in a lot of animes and whatnot, or a lot of fiction for that matter. We just see these people getting slaughtered like they don't have a chance. They are clearly outmatched and being killed like they're ants or something.
And I'm still not 100% sure on the reason for this war. So I know it started off with a child being killed on accident or purpose. I'm not sure about that, but I'm not quite 100% locked on why is this all happening.
Yeah, I think most likely they're going to start to explain. Most likely they're going to start to explain that in a few episodes. What all the connection is to everything, because clearly there's a greater connection going on. Like none of these things are accidental. The war clearly seems to be planned or be caused by something. Uh, yeah, I think everybody's just tied into it, and I think we're going to eventually figure out how everything's tied in. But yeah, we're starting to see that Scar is just blinded by his anger and his hatred, understandably so. Like I can't say that it's easy for us to sit and say, well, he's the villain or whatnot, but he's also kind of a tragic villain because he was just a regular dude who lost everything due to a war, a very unfair war. As far as we can tell from the story, it was over a soldier killing an his fallen girl, and rather than dealing with it properly, they decided to just exterminate them and essentially commit a mass genocide. So, I mean, most of us would probably be upset in that situation.
Yeah, and it is very interesting. Winry overhears all this, and she learns the truth about her parents passing, and that Scar is the person who killed them. And he says to her, if she shoots him, she will be his enemy now, which I kind of find a little confusing. I mean I understand what he's saying, but he killed her parents. She's seeking revenge. I feel if anyone should truly understand, it's him. And I don't know why he declares that once she fires, there'll be mortal enemies. It's somewhat confusing. I feel as Scar is someone who's lost his family for what I think is no good reason that his whole family died. And for him to kind of be like on the flip side, he kills Winry's parents for no good reason. There's no reason he should have done that. If anyone could understand what Winry's going through, it should be him. And I don't know, when he was like, if you shoot me, I will basically hunt you down as well. It threw me off.
Yeah, it's clearly he just sees people as either his enemy or his friend, and it's like, okay, if she doesn't attack him, then she is not an enemy. But if she does attack him, then she is. It's the same thing with the earlier episode we see when we first meet Scar and he's fighting the Elric brothers, and he says he has no issue or he has no plans on killing Alphonse because Alphonse is in the state alchemist, but if Alphonse gets in his way, he will. So it seems like yeah, he's very clearly single-minded, trying to attack specific people to get his revenge. But then anybody who gets in his way of his revenge, he has no problem seeing as an enemy.
Yeah, I love all the Scar background that we're getting in this episode, but what I love almost even more in this episode is we get to see Ling fight. And since we've met Ling, I've only considered him comic relief and kind of just this person who has these two bodyguards. Can't really. He seems like a son of a king. Like he seems very pampered and he's always hungry and he doesn't know what's going on. But in this episode, we get to see him fight um, Fuhrer Bradley slash Wrath, and he's holding up his own in this battle. Not only is he fighting Wrath, but he's also has someone on his shoulder. He's carrying a body and fighting, and he's going toe to toe with with Wrath, and I that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we see anytime, like even the homuncular, anytime anybody fights Wrath, it is clearly an unbalanced fight. They do not stand a chance. But here we see him actually being able to hold his own, and he's also pretty smart. Like he knows how to stay ahead of him, how to get into his blind spot so that he can attack him, and then of course using their tricks like their smoke grenades and their flashbangs and whatnot. So they're clearly he's not just a good fighter; he's also just a very tactical fighter, and it's nice to see him actually being used for something like you said besides comic relief because that's pretty much all he's been at this point. But now we see that he can fight and he's useful. And then we also see a little bit about his morality when he talks about how he's not going to ditch Lan Fan even though she's injured because she's well, he says she's one of her people and he's trying to be an emperor and an emperor could never turn back on their people. So, we kind of get to see a little bit about his morals.
Yeah, it's just yeah, it was really cool to see him fight, and I think he would have done way better if he didn't have to carry Lan Fan on his shoulder. Like if he didn't have that extra, I do think he could have really given Wrath a run for his money.
Absolutely, which is really cool to see because, yeah, most everybody who deals with him are not able to handle him, but Wrath was able to be given I guess, given the drop by Ling a few times, which was I thought was awesome.
Yeah, and just yeah, that was a really cool fight uh, in this episode. We're getting a lot of cool battles in these past few episodes that we've been watching, which I've been really enjoying.
Yeah, we've gotten past a lot of the just dialogue and backstory episodes, and now we're getting to the meat of this show. So it's really nice. I'm enjoying that part a lot. And then, of course, we still have the deeper conversations too, like about war, about the toll of war. The brothers have to face that ethical dilemma that Scar puts in front of them about how alchemy created Nina and Alchemy turned Nina into a chimera because of Shao Tucker. That created an abomination. So alchemy isn't this pure thing that they try to pass it off as, and having to see that realization that the brothers deal with the fact that he's right, and then because she was turned into that thing, like there was no going back for her. That was it. So just them dealing with that reality.
I wonder if they've already if this is the moment where they're realizing it because in that episode they really do have faith that they're going to figure out how to pull her apart as if they keep on this journey to find their bodies. In that episode with Nina and Tucker, they really believe that like they will separate her. So I wonder if this is the moment that it's everything's hitting home where they're thinking alchemy can't solve every problem.
Absolutely. Like I think I think that's exactly right because they do go through that a little bit when they're sitting there and they're thinking about what Scar told them because I think maybe they didn't think that far about like okay, well, we could have made Nina normal again or we could have changed things or there's something we could have do. I think they never really thought that far and then that was when it finally hit them that like yeah, that was it. Like Scar was wrong to kill her, I guess, but at the same time, like what other life did she have at that point? So it was like maybe he did do the right thing in killing her by giving her a mercy kill.
Yeah, it feels like they're learning a lot, the brothers, about how far alchemy can go. Last episode, they learned that you can't bring back people from the dead. You don't bring them back. You bring back something else. And they're coming to the realization that they they probably couldn't have pulled Nina out of separate Nina and now I forgot the dog's name, but Nina and her dog. They probably couldn't have done that either. So I'm I'm wondering what their thoughts are now after having this moment, is this going to deter them from trying to get their body back? Is just like, or is it going to propel them further?
Yeah, that is a very good point. I wonder, like, I think they're still on their goal to get their bodies back to normal and stuff, but I do think it's causing them to question all of their morals and beliefs at this point in time.
Yeah, and I love the ending of this episode with Winry, and uh of course Winry can't pull the trigger. She's not going to shoot Scar, and then Edward tells her that her hands were meant to give life and not take it. So it was it's really cool. Kind of, we start the episode off with Winry with the Hughes' family visiting his grave, and we end the episode with Winry learning more about who she is deep inside, that she's not a killer, and that she's more like her parents than she may have not thought of. Like, she is more of a she's like a doctor, even though she's not a doctor.
Exactly. She cares more about life and the value of life than she did about getting the revenge on Scar for taking her parents away and nearly taking the two people aside from her parents that she cared a lot about, the Elric brothers.
Yeah. And my last thought on this episode, and I know people love when I like talk about Al in the backseat of cars, and I love these funny moments. But towards the end of the episode, you're gonna see Scar uh, try to escape, and he deconstructs a wall, and there's like this cat sitting next to the wall, just like sleeping, and he deconstructs it, and the cat makes this weird, funny face and jumps up, and I laughed out loud. So if you're watching the episode, go back and watch it. Look for the scene where Scar deconstructs the wall and look for the little cat jumping in the corner. It's those little moments that I enjoy in this anime.
Interesting. I don't think I noticed that one, so I am going to have to rewatch it after we record this episode.
Yeah, I love those kind of comedic background things that the animators thought of, and sometimes we overlook. But I always have my eye out for you guys for those kind of things.
Well, hopefully, in this next episode, you found some fun things too, because I don't think I did.
Well, we'll see.
All right. Well, let's jump into the next one, Girl on the Battlefield. So, I kind of move things around in this one because it does jump around a lot. So, I wanted to kind of condense the different point of views of the story together. So, let's start with what Ling is up to. Ling is able to escape with Lanfan. Wrath has Gluttony follow their scent because apparently Gluttony is essentially a bloodhound. So Gluttony is now in close pursuit and will not give up. And Ling is just not sure what to do because they can't keep running. Also, Lanfan's leaving a trail of blood that Wrath is following to find them. Now, there's an explosion in the distance, and it's clear that it's caused by the Scar and the Elric brothers fighting. So, Wrath asks Gluttony to go see what's up while he goes and finds Ling and Lanfan and finishes them. Lanfan realizes that her arm is useless at this point. Whatever Wrath did has permanently disabled it, and begs Ling to ditch her. But Ling says he refuses to give up on her. He refuses to ditch her. What kind of king would he be if he did that? She decides to make the tough decision, and we see that she took out a knife, and we don't know what she does at this point. So let's jump back to the Scar and the Elric fight. Scar and Al are fighting. Edward's in pursuit. Winry gets picked up by the MPs and taken back to Central Command. Scar mocks Alphonse for being all right with alchemy once he realizes that Alphonse is a hollow suit of armor, and he points out that, hey, you love alchemy so much, look what it did to you. It locked you permanently in this suit of armor. And Alphonse says, he doesn't reject the sacrifice that Ed made to save his life. Uh, he doesn't reject alchemy as a result of that. Scar attempts a sneak attack on Al, but Ed is able to come out of nowhere and save him. But then Gluttony shows up. Scar is able to deal some damage to Gluttony, but, knowing that he's a homunculus, it was only temporary. The brothers try to break up the fight as they don't want Scar to accidentally finish off Gluttony, though, not likely to happen. Uh, we see Wrath following the trail of blood and closing in on Ling and Lanfan, where we get a glimpse of Lanfan's dead arm. Turns out she cut off her arm and they attached it to a dog and let the dog run off, creating a trail of blood that Wrath followed and took them the wrong way. Back to the battle, we see Ling jump out of the sewers and help them take out Gluttony. He drops a grenade into Gluttony's mouth, blowing him up. Mm-hmm. As Gluttony starts to heal himself, he has Edward create some metal cable, and they tie Gluttony up. So as he's starting to expand and heal, he just gets tighter and tighter into this makeshift cage, essentially. We then see Riza show up, but she's in disguise. I'm going to go ahead and say it's not the greatest disguise, but she's in disguise. She drives up the car, she shoots Scar in the leg, and tells Ling to load Gluttony in the car and jump in and leave. So now the brothers are back with Scar, so they figure, okay, we're going to finish this fight and make Scar pay for what he did for the Rockbells, or did to the Rockbells. Mei Chang shows up out of nowhere and attacks Alphonse, and she attempts to defend Scar because Scar is the servant of the man that saved her life. She uses her alchemy to cause an explosion, which resulted in a large plume of smoke, and she used the plume of smoke as cover to escape with Scar. As Riza and Ling are escaping, they run into the sewer to get Lanfan, where she was left behind after they cut off the arm. Wrath sees the car driving by, and he is able to piece together that the driver is actually one of Mustang's people, and so he realizes Mustang is somehow involved in everything that's going on. As Scar is being healed by Mei Chang, he starts to question everything. He starts to question whether he was on the right path, and he realizes, oh, I've met somebody that I actually hurt by my hatred. It turns out, actually, though, that Alphonse somehow has Xiaomei, the little cat panda thing that she travels with, that Mei Chang travels with. So he kind of keeps a hold of her. The brothers wanted to head back to Central Command, and they run into Winry. They also see Wrath, or, well, as far as they're concerned, the Führer there. He claims that because she is a friend of FullMetal, she deserves to get the best hospitality. The brothers then explain to Winry what happened to her parents. Winry is understandably upset, but she is thankful that he told her what happened. She just feels really bad because she feels like she's just always waiting for somebody to come back, and she's not contributing. She's not doing anything. She was waiting for her parents to return. She's waiting for the brothers to return. When they return to the hotel, it turns out that Garfield from Rush Valley called, and apparently everybody Rush Valley want her back to help her fix their automobile. Like, she does it better than anybody else. So she's realizing, oh, I actually do have a purpose, and I actually do help people. So Winry gets on the train to head back to Rush Valley, and Edward wants to say something nice, but is cut off by the train horn. So he just walks away defeated. But Winry yells, "Hey, Edward, what were you trying to say?" So Edward says that Edward says that he hopes the next time he makes her cry, it will be tears of joy. Winry starts to wonder if she is actually falling in love with him. Mustang catches up with Ed and Al. They jump in a car. They go pick up Dr. Knox to help heal somebody who is having a problem. We realize it's Lanfan. They drive to this little cabin outside of the city where Riza had already dropped off Ling and the Homunculi and Lanfan. Dr. Knox tries to heal Lanfan or patch him up as best he can with the limited instruments that he has. And now we see that, Gluttony has been captured and he's tied up. And naturally, an argument breaks out over who gets to take Gluttony. Mustang begins to wonder, how integrated the military is with the homunculi, and Ling points out that he believes that Wrath is a homunculus because when he saw his eye, he saw that Ouroboros tattoo. So Mustang's now even more interested in getting information, so he wants to take Gluttony, and of course, fight breaks out over a verbal argument rather, breaks out over who gets to take Gluttony back. Ling wants him because Ling wants to get the source of immortality, and Lan Fan lost an arm over this. Ed and now wants the secrets to get their bodies back, and of course Mustang wants information that he can use to dethrone the Fuhrer. Knox really just doesn't care about any of this, so he just kind of leaves and he says, I'll see you later, Mustang. Hearing the name Mustang triggers Gluttony as he realizes that Mustang was the one who killed Lust. And so he starts to expand into this giant kind of monstrous form. We see this weird explosion take place. Riza gets concerned, and the episode ends on a cliffhanger. So, Jimmy, what were your thoughts?
My thoughts were that I don't know if I could cut my own arm off. That's intense. I always think about that when a character has to chop off a limb or anything. And I, at first, when we saw that scene where Lan Fan pulls out the dagger, I thought she was going to end herself. And because we see Ling in a little later, and he seems so angry and so determined that I thought it was the death of a close one that kind of pushed him this far. But then we see her in the sewer, the dirty sewer, with just bleeding out, as the doctor says in the later the episode. But that was
Exactly.
intense.
That was very, like, they do kind of make it look like she killed herself or something to where Ling wouldn't have, like, now he's just carrying a dead body. So what's the point? Like, he'll drop her because he thinks she's dead. So that's kind of where it leaves you. But then, yeah, you realize, oh no, she just cut off her arm and let the arm bleed out so that it would create a fake trail for uh, for Wrath, and that would give him a chance to escape. And that's exactly what they did. But yeah, he seemed super determined after that on the fight that he had with Gluttony. We get to see him do some more fighting. He's just very crafty. He creates the grenade, or not creates a grenade. He grabs a grenade, drops it in the mouth. Gluttony explodes. Then he just wraps him up in the cable and lifts him up with very little effort, which is kind of interesting too. So Ling is definitely more than just a comical character. He has depth to him, and he's a good fighter.
Yeah, not only is Ling a amazing fighter, but he is so like a tactician as well. You see him pop up and he throws the grenade and he's just like telling people what to do at that moment. He's like, I need strong cable right now to wrap up Gluttony. And you're kind of thinking, well, what are you going to do with strong cable? Well, he knew that once they kill Gluttony, Gluttony was going to expand again. And if we could trap him in a tighter spot, he would just expand too much and he'd be trapped in there. The same with the last episode when he's trying to stand in the Wrath's blind eye spot. It's just these things that we didn't know about Ling beforehand, that he's so smart and he's already assessed the situation
Yes, and then now we're
beforehand.
starting to finally things are starting to come together. All the characters are starting to come together. They've got the homunculus. Now Mustang knows the truth that Wrath is a homunculi. So I'm kind of curious to see where that goes.
Yeah, and we find out that Bradley's son is not his biological son. It's he's adopted. So even more flags to that Bradley is Wrath is a homunculi is being thrown up now. Now the cat's out of the bag, and I think I think this just puts everyone more on edge because now they know how deep this actually goes. It just kind of puts everyone. I don't know. It doesn't relax anyone. I feel like.
No, of course not, because like now everybody realizes this goes deep. But it seems like Mustang. So based on what I can gather, I guess it seems like Mustang doesn't think that anybody knows that Wrath is homunculus. So we'll see what happens there. It sounds like he's going to try to expose him or something to that effect. Yeah, it's just all this craziness that's happening. It's with Wrath being homunculus, now they're finally realizing that Wrath is homunculus. The person who runs their country is homunculus, and then of course the other homunculi are up to something. And I think it kind of also puts things into different light too. Like, why was the Fuhrer so interested in capturing greed or doing these different attacks. Like it makes, I guess it makes them question other things that Wrath the Fuhrer was up to.
Yeah, and it's just interesting. Uh, s- Everyone now is on the same page, and we're all together. Everyone's kind of focused. I love that we get May again in this episode. May and her little panda buddy, and I love how she calls Scar sir. What does she call Scar? She calls him a servant. I that's funny because I don't know. I can't remember the name of the other guy, but he's like on top, and then Scar is their servant. It was great, and we kind of got to see a new form of alchemy, or is this alchemy? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's alchemy, which, yeah,
Is
alchemy.
that I don't know. Is this something new with the daggers and how she kind of threw them and then did alchemy on the ground and it did it over there? It's new. No one's seen it.
Oh yeah, no, that kind of threw them off. Yeah, it threw them off when they saw it. Even the Elric brothers, who are well versed in alchemy, for them to see like her being able to do a remote alchemy uh, transmutation circle is something they've never seen before. Usually, if you want to do a transmutation circle, it has to be where you are. It has to be something that you can physically touch. But we see her like throw these daggers the at the train car, and then she draws a transmutation circle on the ground. She touches that transmutation circle, and the circle created by the daggers is what activates. So yeah, it's definitely a different form of alchemy, and I'm guessing it is going to be very, very unique to alchemy. I don't think it's something that a normal alchemist can do.
Yeah, we haven't really met any characters that can do any alchemy except for May because it's from Jing, and we haven't seen too many Jing characters come up yet.
They mentioned something about what this is Dragon's Pulse or something when we first learn about alchemy and stuff. So I'm wondering what that has to deal with anything.
I know, and I'm excited. You said the name, and I forgot again for the panda, her little panda buddy.
Oh, a Xiaomei.
I love. I'm first saddened that he's split up from May, and I wonder where that's going to lead us. But I do love the scene where he bites Al's finger, and it does nothing to Al because he's just a suit of armor, and we see kind of the pyramid of who's in charge, I guess. And then we see the little top. Al drops on the very top, and now Al is the top of the food chain for him.
Yeah, I think Al's the most important one since Al saved his life and is treating him well, or at least until he runs into Mei Chang again. I'm guessing. But yeah, I don't. They never show how that happened. Like we see May attack Al, kick him in the side, and yeah, we just don't see what happened. I guess maybe in all the confusion of them running around in the smoke, they lost Mei Chang, or not Mei Chang. The Mei Chang lost Xiao Mei, but I don't know. They like never really explain how it happened.
And now he's just living inside Al's body.
Yeah, well, benefit of being a hollowed out piece of armor, I suppose.
It's it's interesting. We don't see him ever take him out, right? Like after that scene where he puts him in.
No,
So he's just there. It's I like to think about that as they're saying goodbye to Winry at the train station, he's inside Al's body.
yeah, that is. I guess at some points he'll come out, but yeah, just in general, the idea that he's just kind of rattling around in there. I mean, I guess presumably he's in Al's leg or something, but
I I love that, and like what that's great, and I love more Winry and how she gets the phone call and how she's become a very important person in that community in that city. that everyone needs her, and that they're like, when are you going to come back? When are you going to help her?
Mhm.
Last episode was such a tolling episode for Winry that this is just a great reminder that she still has purpose and she's still continuing what her parents are. She's just like she continues their legacy. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that I think was one of the biggest good parts of this episode. The best takeaways was that Winry realizes that she is valued. She's not just sitting and waiting for people. She is contributing, and yeah, she is carrying on her parents' legacy.
Yeah, I was like, that's a perfect kind of end cap for Winry. I hope this isn't the end of Winry for us for right now because I know we're almost halfway through, and Ed was yelling at her like, "Next time I see you, you're gonna be crying tears of joy because I'm gonna have my body back." But I hope we get to see Winry some more before the end of this
I mean,
saga.
she's clearly the love interest, so there's no way we're not going to see her again. But yeah, I definitely want to see her grow as a character, though. Like these past two episodes were definitely powerful in explaining who she is and how she's growing and kind of giving us a character analysis on her. So I would definitely like to see more of her.
And I don't want to say I called it, but I did call it like a couple episodes ago or last episode when I was like, they don't know how they're gonna split up the homunculi. Like it's three people who want it, and they only have one. And in this episode, they're fighting about how they're gonna split it
Yeah, or
apart.
really, who gets like first dibs on him? Because technically, yeah, they'll like there's nothing else they can do. It's not like they can split them up into three homunculi and everybody can get what they need. Everybody wants to interrogate him for different reasons. And then of course Ling doesn't even want to interrogate him. Ling wants to take him back to Xing. So there's a yeah, everybody's just kind of and is kind of not sure what to do at this point. Everybody's just yelling at each other.
Yeah, and then we get to see how close Gluttony was to Lust, because the hearing the name Mustang, who is the person who killed Lust, it sets him off. And at first, I thought Gluttony was just kind of this character. He's kind of like always the sidekick, so he's bounced from Lust to Wrath. But I guess he did have this deep connection to Lust.
Yeah, he gets infuriated when he realizes that Mustang is there and Mustang's the one who killed Lust, and we see him expand and we don't see really much of what happens. He kind of turns into some kind of weird monster that results in an explosion, and then that's kind of where the episode ends. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens
His
next.
stomach like opens, right? And we kind of see an eyeball kind of thing in it. It's definitely a great place to end an episode because the last few episodes, I've just been wanting to dive into the next one, and I had to stop myself. So this is a very like I need to know what happens next, and I can't wait to closer to next week so I can start watching that episode.
Yeah, no, it is a great way to end an episode because you just see things expand or see things just scale up and then all of a sudden it ends and you're like, what happened? I need to know. How are they going to live? Who are they fighting? How are they going to survive this? What's going on? Yeah, it's the show is just so perfect at doing that.
Yeah, and it's just every episode has something. I think we've had one filler episode, one or two, but even those episodes are giving us more lore and more insight into this world. And every episode that we've watched so far, it's giving me more and more, and I'm just eating it all up. I'm like gluttony, just eating everything up.
Yeah, Gluttony definitely seems like the childish, like he has the mind of a child, and Gluttony, or not Gluttony, Lust was his mother figure, and that's why he's mad. And yeah, just seeing him becoming pure rage is very interesting, and I want to see what how they deal with him because he's not something easy to fight against. And whatever this monstrous form is that he's taken, I imagine it's not easy to fight against either.
Yeah, and now that they know that Bradley is Wrath, or they don't know he's Wrath, but they know he's a homunculi, And I think that throws another wrinkle in this thing because at the beginning of this episode, Ling or what is it? Hawkeye picks up Ling, and they have to stop to pick up Lon Fan, and in doing that, they drive past Bradley, who notices Hawkeye. So Bradley knows more than they think he knows.
Yeah, he clearly knows something's up, and Mustang is somehow involved in everything. I guess maybe he doesn't know exactly how yet, but it's clear that he knows something is up.
And just him knowing that Mustang is involved in this, and that's probably why he was in the waiting room with Winry before the brothers get there, because he knows something's up, and it's more nerve wracking knowing that the villain has more insight than our characters know.
Yeah, then he has that kind of leverage too, because if he knows what they're up to, then it becomes super easy for him to manipulate them.
I'm excited. I'm wondering what happens. That little house got blown up, so let's see what's going on.
Let's see how they handle it. We're getting close to the end of this season, and then starting off the next one, and yeah, we're getting about halfway through, so I think we're only going to see more developments now.
Yeah, and one other thing, when Al is fighting Scar and he's building those giant hands out of the ground and they're coming up, it's so cool, and it makes me want a live action of this show, which I know that there's a live action movie, but I heard it's not good. But this would be great live action if they could do it right.
If they could do it right, it would be nice. Yes, the live action version on Netflix is terrible. It's like there's not even a coherent story to it. It's clearly they just wanted to like get in all of the greatest hits of the show and then just throw them at us to say, "Hey, you remember this in the scene?" Like there's just no cohesive story. So I would, unless you just want to hate watch it or something, I would advise nobody watch it.
I just want to see those like giant hands come out of the ground in live action. We need to get someone on it. Can Kevin Feige produce this or something? And let's make it a good movie.
Yes, if Kevin Feige made it, it would be amazing, no doubt about it.
So, but that was just a random thought I had as we were wrapping up. But like, I loved the fight scenes, and now that the brothers are kind of getting more into it, and it seems like Al's surpassing Ed in a way, in my opinion. He's doing really great fighting. He's got, now that he can transmutate without a circle, it seems he's picking up things really fast. I don't know. For me, they're kind of going neck and neck between who's the better alchemist.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're definitely seeing Al become as good, if not better, than Edward. And yeah, now they are definitely doing more offensive alchemy, fighting people, and they're getting more determined too because I think they're actually getting leads. So
Yeah, it's just these fight scenes, these last few episodes, have really pumped me up. Just watching them, not being all defensive and like you said, taking the offense on some of these episodes, and we get to see the cool things they're creating, has really gotten me like excited.
yes, I can't wait for the next one. I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to add. To you?
Neither do I. So I think we can end it here, and we can catch up next week and see how they deal with gluttony and what other information they get. Let's see. So that's everything we have. We'll see you next week. I'm Jason.
And I'm Jimmy.
Bye.
Bye.